Today, I would like to take the article force. Till now we discussed for theory's sake force, what is the definition of force, what are the different types of force. Now, in today's class, I am going to explain in detail what is force and in how many different cases we can apply Newton's third law, which is very well known. F is equal to ma. Every one of you knows, I am sure about it. In this class, I am going to give, using this single formula, in how many ways we can use this formula in solving objective type problems, especially for NEET and JEE exams. See, force F is equal to ma, mass into acceleration. From ordinary kinematics, we know very well this acceleration can be written as rate of change of velocity. Very basic formula. Very basic formula. My sincere advice is, don't try to by heart this one. Try to derive it. A is equal to V minus U by T. Then substitute the formula in the standard equation, which is from Newton's law. Then we have force F is equal to m into, in the place of A, V minus U by T. Further, it is nothing but m into V, final velocity, goes to final momentum, minus m into initial velocity, it is nothing but P initial by time. Change in momentum by time, nothing but rate of change of momentum. Rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to force. Once again, it is in good agreement with Newton's second law. The statement is, when a force is applied on a system, the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the external force that causes the change in the momentum, and it takes place in the direction of the applied force. See, now I am using second equation of kinematics, where V square minus U square is equal to 2as. See how simple this is. This is school physics. V square minus U square is equal to 2s. From this, A is equal to V square minus U square divided by 2s. If you substitute the value of A in the standard equation, you get one more case. Let us consider this as second case. Say this, F is equal to m into, see, V square minus U square by 2s, m into V square minus U square by 2s. Very comfortably, we can write this one as half m square minus half mu square divided by s, where s is the distance travelled by the body in the stipulated time. For example, coming to a numerical problem, a truck of mass 2 tons moving with an initial velocity of 60 km per hour, when the driver observed a boy crossing the road, applies brakes suddenly. If the distance between the vehicle and the boy is 10 meters, whether the boy can escape from this accident or not. In this case, initial velocity is given, mass of the truck is given, then final velocity, it comes to rest, means it becomes 0. Hence, this factor becomes 0, and by substituting all these, we can calculate what is the braking force required. The braking force which causes the vehicle stop is called braking force. And one more thing. Now, the next one is gun delivering number of bullets, a machine gun problem which is repeatedly giving in board examinations. Consider this one. A machine gun fires n bullets per second. Bullet means what parameters we need? Each bullet having mass m with a velocity v. then what is the force required to hold the gun? What is the force required to hold the gun? Once again, I am repeating the problem. A machine gun delivers n number of bullets per unit time, nothing but second. If mass of each bullet is m and the velocity with which it was delivered from the gun is v, what is the force required to hold the gun? For your information, it is not so easy to hold the gun as you are observing on the screens. Your favorite hero, he can use the gun as he wish, but practically we have to apply some force, because in the previous class we discussed recoiling force. Recoiling, when bullet is delivered in the forward direction, the gun recoils back, that is called a recoiling force. Now we are going to calculate what is the force required to hold the gun. What parameters we have? Let us see. So we have simply mass of each bullet is m. Mass of each bullet is m. What is the velocity of each bullet? It is v. With these quantities we can calculate what is the momentum. What is the momentum? It is nothing but the product of mass and velocity. There is no separate formula. Very often I hear an answer, sir, I forgot the formula. It is a useless thing. Don't try to by heart the formula. Learn it. Learning is different. Once you learn, there is no possibility for forgetting. Mass of the bullet is given, velocity is given. Their product is called momentum. Be ready. Momentum. This is for the momentum of one bullet. Here, n bullets were released. That's why simply I am multiplying this with n. N into m into v. In what time? In a given time t. In a given time t. Take help of units and dimensions here to check yourself. Mass into velocity, this is called momentum. Momentum by time is nothing but rate of momentum. Since n is only a number, hence this gives the force required to hold the gun. See how simple and how beautiful this formula is. If you learn in this manner, I am sure definitely there is no chance for forgetting this. If anybody wants to forget, it's a challenge to me. I will ask you in the next class after a couple of days. If you say, honestly sir, I forget this formula, then I will give you a good gift. This is the force required to hold the gun. What is the situation? A machine gun delivers n, that n means 100, 200 bullets, each of mass 100 gram with a velocity of 200 meter per second in unit times. What is the force required to hold the gun? That's the problem. The formula is n is the number, mass into velocity is the momentum of the bullet, by time represent rate of momentum. Rate of change of momentum is nothing but force. Since n is only a number, it has no units and dimensions. That's it. In the same way, we can build so many formulae. I will try to give some of the important cases. Now, one more case. A metal plate, it's a metal plate, uniform metal plate, circular plate. It is one of the exhibition article in science fairs, so we can find this one. A metal plate can be balanced in the mid-air. For example, it's a metal plate. It can be balanced in the mid-air by throwing continuously small metal spheres. That means nothing but marbles. That means continuously they are hitting the plate at regular intervals of time, so that the plate does not fall down. Here, how many balls should be thrown, you can calculate. What is the mass of each such ball, we can calculate. Of course, what is the mass of the plate that is balanced in the mid-air, we can calculate. See, what I am going to use is very simple concept, Newton's third law. That means the weight of the body is acting downward, which is nothing but mg. See, if m is the mass of this one and its weight becomes mg, very well, which acts vertically downward, which acts downward. If we are able to produce equal amount of force but in opposite direction, once again here action is on the spheres and reaction is on the plate. Reaction does not act on the same body. Number of times I am warning you, beware of this statement. So many people, they are saying simply for every reaction there will be equal and opposite reaction. It's not the case. Action and reaction never acts on the same body. On a bad weather day, an intelligent boy like you want to row the boat. Ordinary weather, we can find air, we can get air, but unfortunately there is no air. The boy is very smart like you. He arranged a pedestal fan to the boat. This is. So country boat means it has sailings. When air hits it, yes, according to the direction, it will move. This is a condition. In the absence of external air, the boys, he arranged pedestal fan to this boat. In what direction the boat will move? That means it is away or towards in which direction. See how foolish question this is. Here what happened? This pedestal stand was mounted on the boat. Hence it exerts some force on the sails. A reaction and a reaction once again on the same body. Newton's third law does not applicable here. Hence the boat does not move, no chance to move it. You can got it. If you learn the last line of Newton's third law properly, then only it is possible. Yes. Right. Now let's come to this. Come to our problem now. It is the mass of the plate which should be balanced in the mid-air. For this, what we are doing? Simply we are throwing metal spheres vertically upwards, identical metal spheres, each of mass m. They strike the place in the mid-air. They are moving in the upward direction. That's why this plate does not fall, falls down. See here, the technique is, what is the downward force act? It is downward force act is, shall I write mg, where m is the mass of this disc. What is the mass of each sphere? Let us suppose it is small m. When it hits with a momentum, what is the momentum of each ball? It is nothing but mv. How many such balls were thrown? N. In what time? By t. What this is called force, as we discussed just now. This is the force acting vertically upwards on the plate by the spheres. Right? Now what is the force acting vertically downward? Vertically downward force is, it is mg. It is acting vertically downward. Now we can adopt Newton's law very comfortably. The force exerted by the sphere on the plate is action, whereas the force exerted by the plate on this one is reaction. These two are equal magnitude but in opposite in direction. That's why the upward force and downward force must be equal. This, the upward force is equal to, and what this is called, downward force. I am not mentioning the negative sign because I am saying it is opposite. If we apply minus sign and saying opposite means minus of minus it becomes. What is upward force? It is nothing but n, small n, into mv divided by t is equal to capital M into z. This is a formula. Where n is the number of spheres thrown vertically upward in the given time t, mass of each sphere, velocity with which it strikes a plate, and capital M is the mass of this disc which is balanced in the mid-air, and g is acceleration due to gravity, nothing but 9.8 meter per second square. Right? This is the case when the ball hits the plate and drops dead. See, if one sentence is added, this entire thing will be changed. The ball hits the plate and rebounds back with the same speed. Rebounds back with the same speed. Then what is the momentum? When it strikes and drops dead, final velocity is 0. So final momentum is 0. If the ball strikes the plate and rebounds back with the same speed, then the momentum becomes, see, while going up, it is mv, and while coming down, rebounds back, this is mv, but with a negative sign because velocity is in opposite direction. What is the change in momentum? Final momentum minus initial momentum means final minus mv minus m. It is nothing but minus 2 mv. Negative sign indicates the final momentum is opposite to the initial momentum. What is the initial momentum? The spheres are moving up. What is the final momentum? It is a rebounds, that means downward direction. That's why in the place of mv, you have to write 2 mv. Be careful. If it is mentioned, the balls are bouncing back with the same speed. Let us consider one more case where we can use the concept of force in a different notation. Hose pipe concept. Hose pipe. Hose pipe means it's also called a garden pipe. Garden pipe for watering the plants. Water rushes out from it. Water rushes out. What is the force exerted when the jet of water strikes a wall? It's a wall. That means when the gardener pipe is direct a wall, vertical wall, what is the force exerted on the wall? What is the force exerted on the wall? Here in the first case, the water drops dead. Try to understand, the water drops dead. That means when it hits a floor, it's a wall, the water falls down. Then force exerted on the wall, F is given by AdV square. F is equal to AdV square. F is equal to AdV square, where A is the area of cross section of the pipe. Area of cross section. A means area of cross section of a pipe. And coming to D, the density of water. Density of water. And V is the velocity of the jet. Water rushes out with a certain velocity, where V is the velocity of water with which water strikes the wall. This is the parameter. Once again I am repeating, when an hose pipe delivering water with a certain velocity is directed towards a vertical rigid wall and the water falls down after hitting the wall, what is the force exerted by the water jet on the wall? The formula is given by force F is equal to AdV square. F is equal to AdV. A stands for area of cross section of the pipe. Generally the pipe is circular in shape, so the area is taken as pi r square. Mostly the problem is given in terms of radius or diameter in terms. Directly area is may not available in the problem, in the data. So you have to go for calculation. For circular cross section, area A is equal to pi r square. If diameter is given, maximally what is the twist? What will be the twist in the problem? The diameter of the pipe may be given. Then half of the diameter gives the radius. From that we can calculate what is the area. Density of water, generally garden pipe, the liquid water, of course, if in a given problem, in a particular case, the density of the liquid which is pipe must be mentioned in the problem. In case of water, whether it may be given or not, if it is given, you can take it granted 1000 kg per meter cube. Now coming to V, the velocity with which the water will rushes out from this one. The concept is, what is the case one? It is F is equal to AdV square. Right. Check this case, a small change. After hitting the wall, if the water rebounds, that means they are striking the wall and once again they rebounds with the same speed. As we discussed in the previous case, when the sphere strikes a metal plate and rebounds, here the force exerted on the wall is case 2. Case 2. What is case 2? When water rebounds, then force required, force act on the wall is given by 2AdV square. It's a very shortcut and very time saving technique. F is equal to 2AdV square. Sir, is it necessary the water rebounds with the same speed? May or may not. It's a case. For example, if water strikes the wall with a velocity 10 meters per second and it rebounds with 5 meters, it is one more case. Then we can consider the case as 3. What is the case? Water strikes the wall with a velocity v1 and rebounds with a velocity v2. In this case, the force exerted by the jet on the wall is given by F is equal to AdV1 into V1 plus V2. AdV1 bracket begin V1 plus V2. V1 and V2 are 2. Right. Now, one more case for you. It's a special case. Is it necessary to strike the wall normally only? They may not. It is one more case. That's why I am telling you, it is unlimited. If you catch the basic concept in this, so you have to design the formula. The formula. Just you have to design the formula. See, here I am changing the concept. It is a vertical wall. Now what happens? See, water hits making certain angle like this. This is the hose pipe. See, water strikes the wall making certain angle and rebounds symmetrically. Say, for example, it is the case. Say, mathematically, the jet makes an angle theta with the wall and rebounds. Symmetry means by symmetry we have to take this one also as theta only. Then what is the force exerted by the jet on the wall? Other than, come on, tell me what else you can expect? Nothing. Nothing. These are the total regarding jet. See, here it is normally means mathematically what? Normally means 90 degrees. If we substitute in the value of this one, in the value, once again you get the same value. See, check it. The force exerted on the wall, F is equal to, it is nothing but AdV square with the sin theta value. This. If it is rebounds, it is nothing but 2AdV square. This. If it rebounds, if it does not rebound, only AdV square sin theta. Then it is 2AdV square sin theta. You have to cross check yourself whether it is correct or not. It is also in our hands. In our limits. See, here it is striking the wall with 90 degrees now. Sin 90 is equal to how much? Sin 90 is 1. Then force is equal to 2AdV square, as it is in good agreement with case 2. If it does not rebound, here AdV square sin theta only. AdV square into sin 90 is 1. Yes, it is in good agreement with case 1. This is, then it is easy to mind this problem also. Don't try to screw problems forcefully, then it will damage the remaining subjects also. Once again, time again I am telling you, try to learn it. Right. Now we will consider one more case. All these are the applications of force on light. In Newton's third law, we have F is equal to ma. It is a standard. Still now we are on the same concept. F to ma only. Then we observe so many cases where this velocity is very. Now my question is there possibility for variation of mass with the time? For that you have to refer this one. See, F is equal to ma. Okay. This can be written as F is equal to, since mass is constant, till now we write the different forms of acceleration. Check it, F is equal to m into, in the place of acceleration, dv by dt, because from our early study we know acceleration is equal to rate of change of velocity. Then the ultimate question of this one is, sir, what happened if mass times? Is there possibility for variation of mass? First think over in which cases mass will be varying. For example, if you consider this body, the mass will constant. Definitely it is possible. Consider a bucket with a hole in its bottom. Very simple example. As time lapse, what happens? Water drains off. Water drains off. That means as time lapses, what happens? Mass of the body goes on time. That is called variation of mass with time. In such cases, we can write this formula, so called Newton's law, as V remains constant dm by dt. dm by dt. This is the systematic of full problem till morning. That means till the beginning. And we are dealing with only one concept, that is F is equal to ma. Not this class. If you go for a couple of days on the same concept only, with the different with the different numericals, we can go for this one. So be strong at the basics of physics. Now see this one. F is equal to V into dm by dt. Then, sir, in which cases it is applicable? See, I will design a problem for you instantly. Gravity vertically on a conveyor belt at a rate of, let us see, what is conveyor belt? You can find this mostly at crushers, cement factories. To bring out the output outside the factory, conveyor belt is used. See, what is the technology of the conveyor belt? See, on two rollers, big rollers, a belt is rotating this. It's keep moving this. See, this is the situation. When these wheels are rotating, along with this one, a belt, it is also rotating. Keep in motion this. When gravel is falling vertically on the conveyor belt, here gravel is falling, that means it collects what that is granules, sand, cement, whatever it is, so that we can collect it in the next part, that means at the other end of this one. This is called conveyor belts. Gravel is falling vertically on a conveyor belt at a rate of 5 kg per second. 5 kg per second. What is the force required to maintain the conveyor belt to move with a constant velocity of 2.5 meter per second? 2.5 meter per second. Once again, falling vertically, where it is falling? On a conveyor belt. What is the status of the conveyor belt? It is in motion. This. So definitely some force must be delivered to the belt to maintain that motion. Now our job is to calculate what is the force required to keep the conveyor belt motion with a constant velocity. In the data it is nothing but 2.5 meter per second. Once we look at the unit of this one, now it should be in your mind. See, 5 kg per second, it is nothing but dm by dt. Am I right? Mass by time, kg per second. It is to be maintained with a constant velocity. V is equal to 2.5 meter per second. So we have dm by dt and also V. If we substitute in this equation, we can calculate what is the force required. F is equal to V into dm by dt. V is nothing but 2.5 into what is dm by dt? Once again it is 5. It is nothing but 12.5. Can you write the unit of force? Good. It is nothing but Newton. Newton is the unit of force. This is the force required to maintain the conveyor belt to move with a constant velocity.